Hiya folks, good to see you again. You've got me this week doing your home learning again with you. Just wanted to start off by saying thank you for taking the time to chat with me, Mrs. Parker and Mrs. Lancaster on the phone last week. We really enjoyed chatting to you and it's lovely to hear how well you're getting on at home. So well done, keep up the good work. Also, just wanted to make you aware that each week we're going to be doing a celebration assembly, just like we would at school. We've been receiving some fantastic work via email from lots of you, and we thought it was only fair that we share what we're seeing with you guys. So pop over to the YouTube videos, you'll see that the Year 4 celebration assembly has been added. That's all of the work that we've been sent in so far, but each week we'll be adding a new celebration assembly for you. So make sure you check out the celebration assemblies and keep sharing your work with us. We love to see it. So moving on to your home learning for this week, I'll just change my screen so that you can see what I'm seeing. There we go. As normal, you will log on to the Google Drive and there is the Year 4 home learning. You'll see that the new week has been added, week 7. So click on week 7 and you can see all of the folders there are for you to access with lots of different fun activities for you to get to grips with this week. If we open up the Year 4 home learning document, this is just a document to share with you and your parents the sorts of things that we're going to be setting with a little bit of an explanation about what it is you need to do. You'll see we've got the white rows there as normal. You'll also see I've popped on there the new BBC Bite Size website. That's been set up and that's got lots of daily activities being added for you. So there's some really good maths activities every day. There's some good English, some good foundation lessons. So if you wanted to try something a little bit different from the white rows, pop over to the BBC Bite Size because there's some really good maths lessons there that's all available for you to use. You can just access those from these different web links here. Also in the folder there's a code breaker activity for maths, which I'll share that with you shortly. Also a variety of English lessons, usual spelling activities and spag activities to keep those fresh. We're asking you to write a story this week, so I'm looking forward to seeing your writing of those. You'll also see that we're going to be doing a bit of geography this week. We'll be starting our new topic called Raging Rivers. There'll be a second video added onto the YouTube channel to explain the geography in a little bit more detail, because I think that just needs a little bit more of an explanation than what I can fit in this video. So I'll share that with you in a little while. There's also the VE Day activities added for you this week. I'm sure you're aware that it is VE Day this Friday, something, or the 75th anniversary of VE Day, so something that we really need to celebrate. So there's a lot of different activities to help you and your families to celebrate that as well. So if we go back into the folders that you can see, and we'll start off with the usual white rows. If I double click in there, you can see there's 4 lessons added in there. We're looking at multiplication and division this week. Lots of use of place value counters on the activities. Don't worry that you won't have place value counters at home. You can just draw them like you do in school to be able to help you to understand the multiplication and division as well. So using those worksheets, there's the answer sheets there as well to help you as usual. If we go back in, we've also got the maths activities folder. There it is. And there is a code breaker activity that we're asking you to solve. This is really good for helping keep those number facts fresh. So you can see, we'll do the first one together. I can see that 5 times 5 is the first calculation it's asking me to solve. Well, I know that 5 times 5 is 25. So I'd write my answer 25 in here. I then need to find 25 in the code. I can see there it is. 25 is the letter B, so I will write the letter B in the side there. Once I've solved each of those number facts, it will then spell out a word with a spring theme, and I can work through each of those codes to see what those codes are. I'd be really impressed as an extension if you could start creating your own number facts to create your own words for either me, Mrs. Parker, Mrs. Lancaster, or a member of your family to solve as well. So I look forward to seeing those from you. Also this week, we've got your usual spag folder added in there. You can see you've got your usual spag mat that just keeps those grammar terms fresh, stops you from remembering what all of those tricky terms mean. Again, as normal, choose your level of challenge that you think is suitable for you. Also, we've added in your spelling words as usual. Continue practicing 8 of those with your look, cover, write, check method. Make sure you're testing yourselves at the end of each week as well with those. Also, just to keep some of the earlier spellings fresh, these activities are just good activities of ways that you can keep practicing those spellings so that you don't forget them. So there's another 5 words there, similar to last week, but new words from the list that you can have a go at practicing. Just gives you a good idea of different ways that you can practice your spellings so that you don't get bored. Okay. As we continue going through then, we'll have a look at the VE day. Oh no, let's do the reading comprehensions. There's 2 reading comprehensions for you to have a go at this week, both related to our topics that we're going to be looking at this week. So rivers, again, 3 different levels, you choose your levels. That rivers one is really good for you to have a read to give you the subject knowledge that you need for the geography. So that'll really help you. And also the VE day one is a really good one and really relevant for this week as well. So have a go at those. Look forward to seeing them. Also, if we go into that VE Day folder, there is a PowerPoint for you to open up. That gives you the information about what VE Day is, why we're celebrating the 75th anniversary, and what it means to us in Britain. There's also a number of different activities where you can make things to decorate your houses to help you celebrate on Friday, and just lots of different things that you can access there. So those are for you to pick and choose. If we go into the geography folder, as you can see, there's 2 activities there. One of them is a PowerPoint. Have a read of the PowerPoint. There's a number of things for you to gain some information from, and also some questions for you to think about on there as well. There's also a video link which gives you a really interesting video about one of our main rivers, the River Thames in London. So have a look at that. There's also a geography task worksheet for you to open up, which again, I'll explain that a bit more in my second video as to how you can access that one. Okay, so over to the English today, because that's the one that takes the little bit of explaining. So this week, we're going to be asking you to write a story, and that's going to be a story with an imaginary setting. It's going to be based around a video that I'm going to be asking you to watch. If you go back into that home learning document, so if we go back into week 7 here, and in the home learning document, if you scroll down to English, you can see there's a link here which will take you to the video that I'm asking you to watch. The video that I'm asking you to watch is called Something Fishy. I'm just going to play it now, and you'll see as we're watching Something Fishy, you'll recognise that it follows a very similar story structure to stories in an setting. So we can see all of those features that we looked at previously in the year. There's an ordinary girl in an ordinary setting, and she spots something unusual, her trigger. She wants to explore that trigger because she's quite a curious character, like we find in these stories with an imaginary setting. So she explores that. We'll pause that there. She explores that ordinary thing. Remember when we talked about stories with an imaginary setting a few months ago, back in our English lessons, we talked about how a trigger is normally something really ordinary. It could be like a key or a box, something that will trigger that character into an imaginary world. And you can see in this story, the trigger is an ordinary washing machine. But it's a bit unusual. It's caught her attention. And as she opens that washing machine, you'll see that she enters into an imaginary world. You'll notice that as you watch the whole video of this story, you'll notice that there's no words in this story. So your task this week is to have a go at putting the words into that story. I'd be really impressed to see if you could write the words for that story. I've been doing that with Ollie at home this week, and you can see he's had a go. Each day he's just written 1 paragraph for his story. So you can see he's written his beginning, his trigger paragraph, he's written the imaginary world paragraph, and so far we've got up to the problem paragraph, and he's just broken down that story. Within your English folder, you will notice, let me just find that folder again for you, you will notice within the English there's a story planner. This will be helpful for you. Once you've watched the video all the way through, this will be helpful for you to just jot down the ideas, the main events of what's happening in that story. You can use bullet points to help you to do that. I've screenshotted the main events of the story, and you can see as she enters into the imaginary world here, it's a complete contrast to the original setting that she started at, a bit like the other stories with imaginary settings that we looked at earlier in the year. And you can see she enters into a bit of a problem as she's in that imaginary world. And she knows she has to get back to the ordinary world somehow. And at the end, the resolution and the ending of the story helps her to get back into that ordinary world. Okay, so it follows exactly the same structure of the imaginary settings that we've looked at, imaginary stories that we've looked at a few months ago. Use this planner, use bullet points just to help you to note down the main events that's happening and any key words that you want to use in your story. As you then write your story, I've then provided you some sentence openers to help you. So you can see you can start with these paragraphs. One paragraph a day will be enough, and just use those sentence openers to help you structure your story. Once you've watched a video through, you'll be able to use them to be able to write it in an interesting way. The paragraph that I really want you to focus on is the problem paragraph, because just before we broke up from school, we were really starting to think about building suspense in our writing. You'll remember our Wind in the Willows writing when Toad was in the dark wood, okay? And we started thinking about the different features that we can use in our writing, things like short, sharp sentences, or lots of commas to make the reader read your writing really quickly to build that pace and build that suspense, okay? The other thing you could do is a bit of ambiguity. Keep the reader guessing. Okay, what is the problem? But don't make it obvious straight away. If I show you Ollie's writing again, that's exactly what he's tried to do here in his problem. He said, all of a sudden, it went dark. That's his short, sharp sentence to really build that suspense. And he said, surrounding her was emptiness, except a dark shadow coming closer to her. So that sentence, he's tried to build that ambiguity. He hasn't said what that dark shadow is yet, but he's tried to keep the reader guessing, okay? As she turned around, she saw huge white teeth approaching. It was a shark. So that short, sharp sentence is building that drama. Amelia let out a scream, but no noise came out. As quick as a flash, she swam away through the trees to try and find the door of the washing machine. She hid behind a tree, hoping that the shark wouldn't find her. But it did. So quite a chunky sentence with commas there to really speed up the writing. Closer, 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 the beast came. So you can see he's tried to use the strategy of repetition to be able to repeat something to build that drama. Closer, 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 the beast came. The beast came snapping its hungry jaws. Finally, Amelia found the door to the washing machine, so she swam as quickly as she could towards the door, and he's leading into now the resolution of his story. Okay, so I popped that on there just as an example that you can see he just wrote a paragraph a day, and just like we would in school, that's all I want you to do, to break that story up into each of those sections using that story planner to help you. Okay, use those sentence openers as well to help you to structure your writing. I really can't wait to read these stories. I know that video, I didn't want to show you too much today because I didn't want to spoil it, but I know that video is going to be really exciting for you. So have a look, and I look forward to reading that. So that's everything. As I say, there will be a second video from me shortly to explain the geography. Keep up the good work. Really impressed with what you've been doing so far. Well done, guys. See you soon. Take care.